Hey, I'm back again. This time I don't have an ocarina. I do have this ancient stringed instrument. I'm not sure what they call it, but I'm gonna play you a tune. Thanks, and thanks for allowing me to come back and audition a second time. Hopefully I can make it on. Thanks. What is up, guys? So today we are back with another deep dive, diving deeper into the Rainbow Cup. I think I'm finally past the whole like Nightmare Cup thing. Watch me say it next video. So today we're actually going to be talking about Venomoth, which is a bug and poison type Pokemon maxing out at level 40 with 15s across the board. You can hit a 20, 82. Which is actually pretty good for the Great League. Now with a 0-1 attack, 13 defense, 15 stamina, at level 27.5, you can hit a 1500 flat, which is pretty great. Now according to my spreadsheet and all the numbers that I have ran, Venomoth should be around 45th in bulk and 44th in stat product, which I'm not super impressed by that, but I mean it's not horrible by any means. So of course all of that does come from our base stats here of a 179 on attack, 143 defense, and 172 on stamina. And coming off of the Mantine video, that isn't like the greatest spread ever, but hey, we'll work with it. Moving on to our moves. So this is what makes and breaks Venomoth for me. Now I excluded one move just because I didn't have the room to put it, which was Psychic. And the reason that I actually excluded Psychic from the board is because A, it's our freaking slowest charge move. It costs 70 energy for 100 damage at 1.43 damage per energy ratio. It is not a stab candidate, so we do not get any kind of bonus multiplier off of it. So it just kind of felt fitting to exclude the one oddball move there. But out of the moves that we do have written up here, we do have Bug Bite, Confusion, and Infestation for our fast moves. So out of these three moves, Bug Bite probably is going to be the way to go if you want to go for a bug type fast move. Considering that it does have a slightly less energy charge than Infestation, it does have a pretty big damage difference here. So I do think that Bug Bite would be more of a well-rounded bug type move. But if you're like truly going after speed, then Infestation does make a little bit more sense if you rely on Silverwind to actually do the bulk of your bug type damage. Otherwise, I definitely think Bug Bite makes a lot of sense. But then we have this Confusion. And Confusion, whew! So as we know, coming off of the Nightmare Cup actually, Confusion is it's the bee's knees, man. It's good. And having Venomoth with a Confusion move is good. I mean, back in the, what was it, Tempest Cup, right? Tempest, which had poison. So back in the Tempest Cup, when Venomoth had Confusion, it tore through a lot of different things. It really, really wrecked the Toxicroak, which was just, it was a stupid matchup. But hey, the whole idea is to have Confusion on Venomoth because it is a hard-hitting move for decent amounts of energy, and there's no problem with it. Plus, in the actual Rainbow Cup, it's not going to be resisted by too many things, which is definitely a good thing here. Then in our charge moves here, we do have Poison Fang, Silverwind, and Bug Buzz. So I'm kind of taken back by Poison Fang because Poison Fang is amazing for its speed, but it's the only poison type move that we have, plus its legacy at this point, which really, really sucks. I hate the fact that Poison Fang is our only poison move and its legacy. So that does make Venomoth a little less enticing for me to like actually use, because I don't have one and I don't care to like go trade for one because I know no one in my community has one. But thinking about this objectively though, Poison Fang is an amazing move. I definitely think that it needs to be on Venomoth. It needs to have that poison type damage to help cover a lot of different situations, a lot of the grass types. The Azumarill matchup is made a lot easier with Poison Fang. There's just a lot of things that poison type damage does in this cup that I think makes Venomoth a really nice package if it has both Confusion and Poison Fang. And then we come down to Silverwind or Bug Buzz. So it really just depends on which way you feel more comfortable taking this. Considering that if you have Poison Fang, Silver Wind is going to then become your slowest move. You may want to go with something that hits a little bit harder like Bug Buzz, or if you want to stick with the decent speed and the efficiency, I mean, Silver Wind does make a lot of sense there, plus it does have the chance to lower your opponent's defense. So that's the thing. For the purposes of this video though, we actually are going to be using Confusion, Poison Fang, and Silver Wind for our matches. So that is actually the moveset that I go with for this video. Speaking of, let's actually get into some shield situations here using this moveset. So in our first shield scenario, we do have a 0 versus 0, which is where I don't have any shields, my opponent doesn't have any shields. Kind of like a closing type situation, if you will. We actually end up winning 37%, which is not too bad. Our next shield scenario is 2 versus 0, which is where I have 2 shields, my opponent doesn't have any shields. We actually end up winning 88%. But I'm not too worried about that actual 88%. I really want to know what ends up beating us. If I have complete shield advantage and Pokemon still end up beating me, I'd like to know which ones those are. And oddly enough, here's where I really start to lose a lot of confidence in Venomoth. Venomoth starts to lose to the Confusion users themselves and a couple of fire Pokemon. Hold on to that thought because we'll talk about that in a little bit. Our next shield scenario is this 0 versus 2, which is where I don't have any shields, my opponent actually has 2 shields. We actually end up winning 10.9%, which is the exact ones that we want to be taking a look at. Basically, the ones that we're going to win here are the Pokemon that are just weak to Confusion. A lot of the poison types show up here. Basically, if it's gonna have a psychic type weakness, it's gonna die here. Our last shield scenario is this 2 versus 2, which is where I have 2 shields, my opponent has 2 shields, kind of like a opening type situation, if you will. We actually end up winning 48.9%. So, with all that being said, it does look like Venomoth prefers to open just a little bit more than it does like to close here. Statistically, you are going to win more as an opener rather than a closer. Now, moving on to some matchups here. So in every deep dive, I always end up taking our subject Pokemon, Venomoth today, and I put them up against the top 10 bulkiest Pokemon in the cup just to kind of see how they do. So for this, we're actually going to head over to pvpoke.com. We're actually going to build our Venomoth here, Confusion, Poison Fang, Silver Wind, like we said. We're going to make sure 1 shield on our side, 1 shield on the opponent's side. I do have a custom group set up with the top 10 bulkiest Pokemon. There are 15 Pokemon included here, but that's because we do have several iterations of Suicune, just to make sure that if Suicune is a threat, we can see which hidden powers are actually pretty dominant against us. And all of the hidden powers that I use in the video actually do come from the rankings page, just to kind of figure out which hidden powers are the most useful. So once we actually hit battle here, you can see we have 7 wins and 7 losses and a draw. So let's actually see here. So Tentacruel is a win. That makes a lot of sense. It's weak to our Confusion. Jumpluff is a win. That makes a lot of sense because it's going to be actually weak to our Poison Fang and our Silver Wind, both areas. Then we have Suicune with Hidden Power Grass, Suicune with Hidden Power Bug. Then we get into Shuckle. Okay, that one makes a lot of sense. Shuckle's, Lantern actually makes an appearance here, which is kind of interesting. And then we have Suicune with Snarl, and then we tie up against Suicune with Hidden Power Ground. So, considering that we win 3 Suicunes and we tie the 4th one, that means we're going to lose the other 2. What that ends up telling me is that we are on the losing side of the Suicune matchups. Considering that we do end up at least tying one of those and we don't win the majority of them, I just count that as a loss. So from there, we actually start to lose up against the Suicune with Hidden Power Water, Suicune with Extra Sensory, Lapras, Dugong, Azumarill, Fortress, and Mantine all end up beating us there. So now we're actually going to be looking into some countering here. So the top 2 here are basically what we want to counter with our Venomoth, what we want to focus our attention on, versus the red here is actually what's going to be brought to the table if you're worried about going up against the Venomoth. These are the Pokemon that you really want to bring to the table to combat it. So going over the grass types here, you can kind of see I have written down all but 3. So we have clear wins up against a ton of these, but here's where, remember what I said whenever it was in the 2 versus 0, that Confusion and the fire type? Here's my problem with Venomoth. As you can see, we lose to Execute, Celebi, and Executor. Yeah, so all 3 of those are Confusion users. And whenever we get to this water type, I'll try to point it out again if I don't forget, we do also lose to some confusion users. So, yeah. Next, we're moving on to the electric typing. We have all but 4 here, so as you can see at the top, we have some pretty good wins there. And then we do tie up against electrode, so that's bad. Then Magnemite, Raichu, and Magneton are all losses for us. Raichu's actually showing up a lot in these deep dives here. Next, we're moving on to the bug typing, which is starting to get into this section where we're gonna start talking about more losses than wins. So in the bug typing, you can kind of see here, a lot of the Pokemon at the top either are weak to confusion or have hardly any stats to really back up what they're going up against. So Ariados, Beedrill, both weak to confusion. Heracross, weak to confusion. Pineco, not really like stat heavy there. Parasect actually has a grass typing, so it's going to be weak to our poison damage and our bug type damage. Then we have Pinsir, Yanma, and then we start to lose. So Venomoth can actually be built to beat itself in the mirror. Then we have Ladian, Scyther, Fortress, Scizor, and Butterfree. And all of those aren't weak to confusion, plus Butterfree is actually a confusion user. Next, we're going to be getting into the fire types, and we have all but one. Yeah, so Typhlosion is a clear win for us. Ho-Oh, you know what I'm talking about with Ho-Oh. I don't foresee Ho-Oh being there. So we do tie up against both Growlithe and Magby, and then we start to just flat out lose Charmeleon, Quilava, Ninetales. All of these are losses. Houndoom actually being the hardest fought battle there because we do have Confusion as our fast move. It is going to be resisting a lot of our damage, even though we do have the bug type damage to back it up. It's not really going to work out too good for our Houndoom matchup there. Last but not least, we do have the water typing, and as you can see, a lot of the ones that we win up top are going to be weak to the confusion, or we're just going to kind of be able to output more damage than they can to us. Tentacruel and Quillfish both carry that poison typing, so they are going to be weak to psychic type damage. Wartortle, Lantern, Gyarados, Octillery, Seadra, Poliwhirl, Kingler, Poliwrath, Kingdra, Chinchou, Feraligatr, Seaking, Croconaw, all are wins. Then we start to get into some ties with Cloyster and Vaporeon. Then we start to lose. So Quagsire, yeah, you can start to see all these. The Azumarill matchup is even still a hard-fought battle with our Poison Fang, even though we do carry a move that's at least going to be super effective. It's still not enough. But then you can kind of see down here at the very bottom, Slowking, Slowbro, Starmie, which I'm sure is using Hidden Power. Yep, Hidden Power Psychic. Then we have Golduck and Slowpoke, all rounding out the bottom there. Here's my problem with Venomoth. Venomoth just, while he is in this weird section of confusion users for the Rainbow Cup, and the confusion users are looked at in pretty high regard, Venomoth itself is going to be weak to confusion. And that just seems really counterproductive to me. If you're going to have a confusion user, I wouldn't want my confusion user to be weak to their confusion user. So it just kind of seems counterproductive to me. Now, if you like Venomoth and you want to use Venomoth, he's completely viable in the sense of he is a confusion user. He has great bug type moves. He's fairly fast because his moves don't cost super high amounts of energy. So there's nothing technically wrong with Venomoth. He seems like he's at the bottom of the list for the confusion users for me. And that's kind of unfortunate. But that is actually my take on Venomoth, guys. I'd love to hear what you guys think about him down below. Always remember that if you have a deep dive that you want to see, you can put it down in the comments below. We are racking up on several different Pokemon coming up. We're going to be doing back on track with 2 versus videos this weekend. And then we're going to be getting into our deep dives again on Monday, which there have been a lot of votes for really unique Pokemon that I'm super excited to actually get into. So definitely looking forward to that. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for watching. Always, like, seriously, thank you guys for hanging out because I'm lonely. That is actually going to be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for watching. Always remember that if you like to like videos, you can do that. But if you don't, you can be that guy. Otherwise, let me know what you have to say down in the comments below. And until our next video, I will catch you then. Was that too fast?